Tanse, and welcome back to Muskeg Tea with Chantel G, a space where we come together, sip some tea, and hold conversation rooted in healing, laughter, and truth. November is Men's Health Month, and today I'm deeply honored to welcome a special guest, a man who walks his path with humility, strength, and spirit. Our guest today is Adrian Foureagles Dancing LaChance, a proud Plains Cree traditional dancer, singer, and helper from James Smith Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. Adrian has spent decades sharing culture and wellness across Turtle Island and around the world, from New Zealand to Italy, China to Alaska, bringing the heartbeat of the drum wherever he goes. Beyond the dance arena, Adrian has worked in the helping field since 1999, offering workshops on life skills, cultural awareness, substance abuse prevention, grief and loss, and youth empowerment. His journey is one of service, creativity, and healing. And today, he joins us to speak about the sacredness of fatherhood and the healing journey of Indigenous men. Welcome, Adrian. It's an honor to share this circle with you today. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. Honoring you in a good way. I'm really grateful to be here.
Okay, we're going to go into the first section of this interview, the path and the purpose. Can you share a bit about your early journey? How you found your way into dancing, singing, and eventually into the helping field?
Sure, yeah. So dancing has always been something that has always sparked an interest in me in regards to why are they doing that? Why do they wear that? And so I had to go on this journey about asking those questions. I too used to be a spectator. And I used to think, man, it'd be so cool to be a dancer. And so in 1993, I tried dancing grass. And this is a time when I still had my long braids. And I didn't know if I was doing it or not because I'd keep on whipping my face with my braids. And it was like, wow, I don't think I'm doing it enough, So anyway, I had to get taught those teachings about you got to be smooth and sway like that grass sways when the wind touches it. And so those were stories that were given to me by a grass dancer. And then as I got older, I guess excited about dancing and what it really meant to honor, to celebrate, to give thanks, I was introduced to the men's traditional. And the men's traditional is the oldest of all the dances that you ever see at a powwow. The Lakota Sioux were gifted that dance. And so it symbolizes a warrior to be a provider, protector to the people. And today we honor that role as a educator, being mindful of the young people and trying to support them the best way we know how. And so I had to learn about all the protocols that come with being a traditional dancer. And so when I first made my debut in Kamloops, BC, I was really stiff, agile. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew it felt good. It was like my whole search was over when I danced in that men's traditional outfit that was borrowed to me by my good friend Ernie. And so he just said, have fun out there, And that's what I did. I got that traditional bug, as you would say, to want to learn more and to become a dancer eventually. And so, dancing has taken me all over the world. And one of the things it's taught me is patience because of the beading. You got to learn how to bead. You got to find the right beaters. You have to find the right supports, people that'll show you and teach you how to sew or will sew for you. And so those are some of the things that what dancing has taught me is to be patient in a good way.
Hi for that. So I recently, about 6 years ago, I stepped into the powwow circle with my jingle dress. And I think the first powwow that I danced at was Kihiwin powwow. And that was in 2019 before COVID. And the last time I danced was in 2021, and that was at Onion Lake Powwow. That was the year my brother had passed away, and so it's been 4 years now since I've danced, and I have 2 jingle dresses upstairs in my closet, and they've just been sitting there. And every once in a while I'll go into my closet and I'll shake the cones just to keep that spirit of the dress alive. And so I really hope into the new year that I can get back into the powwow circle, and I just pray that those that have a lot of experience in the powwow circle and that have been dancing for many years, they welcome you with open arms and grace, and Yeah, and that they're just gentle with me because I'm still learning, but I know that this is one of my callings is to dance, not only for myself but for those that can't dance, and for my relatives and those that are in the spirit world, like my late brother. So hi for that sharing there. What does it mean? What does it mean to you to carry the name Foureagles Dancing?
Yeah, it's a great honor. Like in life, we when we first come into this world, we're given a name, and eventually you're given a nickname. I was given many nicknames growing up. You little shit. I'm just kidding, but all these names, eventually provides an identity for you. It provides a connection. It provides, something of great value, great meaning. And so when I was given that name for Eagles Dancing, I was in a ceremony, my first fast back in 96, I believe, 95. And I was sitting with these three elders, and there was this dirt mount, and a buffalo skull on this mount. And there are four pipes facing towards us. And just beyond that mountain, that skull and those pipes were these four eagles, and they were dancing in a circle. And it looked so cool. I was like, man, I wanna dance. I wanna be a dancer. And so that's when I had the idea that, that name definitely gives me a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, a sense of connection to ceremony that I was so disconnected from growing up because of the child welfare system and almost being adopted into a German family. And so that name carries a lot of medicine for me to turn my back on my people or my path in life.
Hi. I think that's one of not I don't think, but I believe it's one of the important things for our Nahue kids to get those Cree names for themselves. Marcel Desjardins had shared that a little bit on when he was speaking about the center that he has out in Frog Lake, Oki Center, and getting names for the youth that go into that center. It's really important. It gives them that sense of identity. And so thank you for sharing what Foureagles Dancing means for you. When you travel and share our culture internationally, what do you hope people feel or understand about who we are as Indigenous people?
I hope they feel and understand that we're a strong, resilient people and that we've been through a lot. We carry historical trauma, but we also carry historical wisdom. And so with that wisdom comes the idea of, bringing people together, celebrating, understanding one another, supporting one another. And so that's the hope and prayer every time I get invited to, these different exotic places on Mother Earth, is to honor that gift of kindness, honor that gift of love, compassion, but also patience, because a lot of people still think we live in teepees. And so when I can give them some teachings about we live modern just like you, we don't live in teepees. And so that's the kind of, for me, the reward, the paycheck, when I'm able to make people understand that we're just like them in so many ways. We're interconnected. We're so not far apart in regards to living and some of the things that we go through on a daily basis. So it's a real privilege and honor to be an ambassador for our culture, to teach people the truth about what happened to us and what we're still dealing with to this day.
That's some powerful truth right there. He's like, no, I don't live in a teepee, but I know how to build one. No. So section 2 of this interview, the sacredness of fatherhood. This month we're honoring men's health, physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. How do you understand the sacredness of fatherhood in Cree culture?
Yeah, that's a good question. Bob Cardinal from Enoch Cree Nation was the one that gave me a teaching about discipline. And we all have this idea of discipline and how we discipline our kids. Smarten up, you're not doing that right, or don't drink, don't drug. And so I remember when I was growing up, those were the things that were that impacted my life. Get out of here, get out of the room. What's always chasing me away? Go outside. And what that did to me, I felt like unwanted, unvalued. I felt like nobody cared. And so what he really sat me down and talked to me about is like, we all have this idea of discipline, and it's about punishing. It's about segregating. It's about division. It's about, making them pay, when that's not what discipline is about. Discipline is supposed to be with love and compassion. We all have that. We hit your child, or you yell at your child, you swear at your child. You're transferring what you carry, that shame, that guilt, that hurt, onto your child. And so what you're doing is you're teaching them how to hide that behavior. And so one of the things they says that talk to your kids, go down to their eye level and talk to them. Don't talk down to them, because you'll teach them how to hide that behavior. They're going through transition. They're very curious beings. They're very curious, those child. They're so pure. And so we have to understand what that really truly means, is to try to put yourself in that little person's position. They just want to have fun. They just want to engage with you. They want to go and laugh and enjoy life. As parents, we sometimes forget that. And so what he taught me is, like, engage with your children. When you discipline them, breathe first, go to your vehicle, scream because of what maybe got embarrassed, maybe you got hurt, and then go deal with it. Go deal with it and pray, smudge. And so that's what he's taught me. That's what he's taught me about discipline. So whenever my kids are doing something that I don't agree with, I'll always light smudge and I'll breathe and I'll talk calmly, just like I'm talking to you. It's not about yelling, making them feel inferior, but making them feel heard. And so when my kids would act up, I would light smudge and I would say, Daddy's hurt right now. I don't know what Daddy did to make you do this. What can I do to help you so this doesn't happen again? Daddy's here to listen to you. I love you. I just want you to know that. And you can tell me anything. And if I don't have the answer, we'll find it together. So those are some of the things that for me have been so impactful to my children. They can talk to me about anything. They're not scared or embarrassed or anything like that. They know Daddy has, a huge list of resources that we could go to and explore to make sure these behaviors don't happen again. So one of the things I try to teach my kids is don't drink, don't drug. I never told that to my kids. I've always said, make good choices. Your ancestors are always with you. And for me, that's been more impactful. And it's been more challenging now because weed has been more accessible and has been more accepted now. Even at powwows, if you ever go to a powwow, it's the first thing you smell. Go to a round dance, first thing you smell is weed. And so for me, I always try to tell my kids, like, Daddy doesn't need those kinds of things. Daddy doesn't need drugs or alcohol to feel good or feel connected. Just being mindful of that in a good way and reminding them that there's when you do those kinds of things, you always have to pay for those behaviors. And so just being mindful of that in a good way, I think, is so important as when you talk to your children about discipline, reminding them that your ancestors are always with you. And when you drink, you break treaty. If you understand treaty, you break treaty every time you drink. So it's one of the things I always try to be mindful of when I think about my children is Daddy loves you. Daddy wants only the best for you. Make good choices for yourself. So those are some of the places that have helped me establish a good relationship with my children.
That is so beautiful and strengthening because, even for myself, like, I became a parent at a very young age. I was 19 and my son is 21 now. When it came to the things that I experienced as a child, like, those did go past, I did pass those on to my son. And now that I have a little daughter, she's going to be 5 this week, and just trying to undo those things that I did with my son, and again, like you said, having more patience. And I think being able to have more patience and, like you said, even getting down to her eye level, I feel it builds a stronger trust between me and her. And as for my son, the trust between me and him, it is getting stronger, and I do give him that space to share with me and have those difficult conversations. Because 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when he would try to share, oh, well, you did this to me, or I experienced this, or you weren't there, I would always get mad at him. I would get mad, I would get defensive, I would hang up the phone on him, just trying to block him out. But now that I've learned a little bit more about the intergenerational trauma and the impacts that it has caused on our people, I have more patience for him now, and I give him that space, and I acknowledge, what his experiences were, because they weren't mine. And I always make sure that I apologize. I always tell him how much I love him and how proud I am of him, that he's always going to be my baby, even though he's 21. So I really loved everything that you just shared when it comes to the sacredness of fatherhood. In your own experience as a father, uncle, or mentor, what lessons have stood out to you about being a healthy Indigenous man today?
Asking for help, putting your ego, your pride aside, and asking for that help. I think that's something that I wasn't familiar with. I wasn't good at. And so I had to get really good at reaching out and saying, hey, I need some help. You got a moment to spare where I can, just dump on you and, share what I'm going through. As men, we don't have a lot of supports. And so we try to create those with one another in a good way. And so I always tell people, reach out to me if you're going through a hard time, vice versa. If there's something I'm going through, is it okay if I reach out to you? Simple, it's just a simple thought pattern. Sometimes when you go through these experiences, you feel alone. You feel like nobody cares about you. You feel like no one wants to give you the time of day because we're so busy. We're so busy at being and trying to create our own life, our own situations, and battling our demons. And so, asking for that help is so important. And so, if anyone is out there listening, if you need support, encouragement, resources, reach out to me or some. I'm very easy to get a hold of. Very easy to get a hold of. And so I tell people, I'm good at listening. And like I said, if I don't have the answers, we'll find it together. And so, one of the things I try to tell my kids, try to make a lot of friends that you can lean on eventually in life. Someone that you can share what you're going through. Like I said, Dad doesn't have all the answers, but I've been through a lot, and so maybe I can just listen and just sit with you. And so it's one of the greatest things that you could share with another human being is being present, being in the moment. One of the things I observe is every time we gather, we're always on our phones. And what I'm trying to reintroduce is we need to put those away. We need to start engaging with each other. When I go visit elders or knowledge keepers, I keep my phone in the vehicle and I don't set a time on how long I'm going to be there. Even though that, drives my baby mama crazy, I just go there with the intent that I'm going to share some really good experiences, some really good stories, some really good medicine. And for me, I don't want to be interrupted. So that's one of the things I think we need to bring back and revitalize is that, cell phones are a way of life, but when you're wanting to heal, when you're wanting to grow, when you're wanting to forgive and change your life, sometimes you need to put those things down and just be in that moment of bliss or that moment of healing is so important. I encourage people to take a break on social media, take a break on their phones if they need be, just to reevaluate, refocus their life.
I went to a women's circle last week, and that was one of the things that we talked about is how, back in the day when we would call people, would be on a landline, and if we got upset, we'd have to go walk and slam the phone down and, and that'd be it. There would be that disconnect, right? But nowadays with technology and devices, it's like, one, you can't slam the phone down, and two, you can't have that disconnect because it's a little device you can put in your pocket. You still have access to it. And then also the doom scrolling and, seeing other people's problems or, seeing other people's celebrations as well, right? You want to give that love, that interaction and, celebrate them too. And then it just, all of a sudden 4 hours goes by and, you can't get those 4 hours back. So I think that's really important too, is just that reminder of taking a break. I know on my phone I have a timer where it turns off my phone completely and I'll just leave it alone. And one of the things that I really want to start doing again is reading more. I have all these books and they've just been collecting dust. So I think instead of doom scrolling on social media or whatever else, I just need to pick up a book and read for 4 hours because 4 hours goes by fast. How do you balance being a helper for others while continuing to care for yourself and your own healing?
A lot of smudge, ceremonies. I try to attend some ceremonies. I'm living up in Fort Mac now, so I built a good, strong spiritual support network up here. I met an elder, and he does ceremonies, which is really good. And so, honoring that connection to honor yourself is so important. Burnout is real. Some of the colleagues I worked with burnt out and they quit. And so it's always important to check up on each other. It's always important to do a check-in at work and make sure everyone's on task and supporting that and taking a day off. I loved my job because they said, if you need a day for yourself, take it off. Just let us know. And just make sure you, at the end of the day, you're okay. And so having an organization like that, having a work environment like that is so important to a person's mental health. And so I'm really grateful to be working with the Athabasca Tribal Council and doing the good work that they've done for so many years and to support the beautiful Five Nations up here in a good ways. Yeah, I'm really grateful that they have a really strong support system in place for their employees.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Even for myself, like when it comes to workplaces, it's really important that that they implement that self-care and they even have those conversations to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, especially in the field of helping. So I work with Native Counseling Services of Alberta, and in our office we have smudge, we have sage, we have willow fungus, we have everything that we need to ground ourselves. And I think that's really important. But we also implement culture ceremonies. So last month we took our participants to a sweat lodge, which was really nice because even as employees we were able to attend the lodge, and I think that was really beautiful because we got to sit in circle with our people, with our participants, and it gives us that deeper connection, which again is like so important for our people, is having that connection with one another. We're going to go into section 3 of this interview, healing and community. For many of our men carry silent stories of loss, trauma, and disconnection. How do we begin to open up those conversations in a good way?
Yeah, that's one of the things I tried to, I'm going to be doing probably in January, is men's sharing circles and to support our men up here. And I think that's a good way to start, is to give them a space, a place to be their authentic self, because as men, we have to put on these many hats in regards to being a provider, protector, taking care of the home life. And so sometimes we tend to forget our role and about ourselves. And so I think that'd be a good way to start creating some space for men up here to share whatever they're going through and to support each other in a good way. So yeah, baby steps, I think is such an important part. Yeah, that's what I plan to do in January, and to go to the Five Nations and to create a safe space for men to connect and heal and to support each other.
What traditional teachings or practices have helped you the most in times of grief or challenge?
Yeah, that's understanding medicine. So you think about our 4 quadrants: our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, our physical. We have medicines for each of those quadrants, and sometimes we mix quite a few medicines together and to help us in regards to some of the things that we're dealing with. And so that's what I kind of rely on when I don't have access to my spiritual dad or my uncles that give me these teachings to continue on in a good way. So it's about honoring those medicines and speaking to them, and asking that for help and guidance. I speak to my ancestors just like I'm speaking to each and every one of you, and honoring that in a good way. And so that's one of the ways to ask for that help in a good way. So something that I was taught is just use those medicines. That's what they're there for. And don't be shy. Don't be stingy with them. Always share as much as you can. And so that's what I try to do on a daily basis.
I have a bin of medicines that they've just been sitting there, and now like it's a reminder that I have to take those medicines and distribute them, because I can't just keep them hoarded in the corner of my closet. I need to give them out. I really do. Thank you for that reminder. For the men listening today who might be struggling, what message would you like to offer them about identity, healing, and hope?
You're not alone in your struggle. You're not alone in your experience. If I could share one beneficial thing in this life, it would be Ahkamêyimok. Don't give up. Keep trying. Ahkamêyimok. Tomorrow will bring another beautiful day. Believe in yourself. Do your best to be the best example of yourself. Try to be a gift and try to act accordingly. A lot of men, we don't feel like we're a gift or we're being appreciated. And so just reminding the men, that you're a gift from the Creator, and that somebody believes in you. I believe in you, and I just want you to know that you're loved. And I hope one day our paths will cross and we're able to handshake and hug and maybe round dance or dance an intertribal. Yeah, just know that you're not alone. And reach out. Reach out if you need that extra support. I'm easy to find.
As you hear that, men, you guys got to go round dance. Hey. So we're going into the last section of this interview, looking forward. You've traveled and shared our culture with people around the world. What have you learned from those experiences about unity and the power of culture?
Yeah, dancing, music, food brings people together. And so, it's one of the things that I always remember when I was first introduced to ceremony. There was always a pipe ceremony, there was always smudge, and then we feasted, and then we danced, and we laughed, and we felt good, and then we had a giveaway. So those are some of the things that for me I try to honor. So when I go to these exotic places, I always try to take extra things that I think would benefit people's lives. So I used to make little drums, powwow drums. It was quite the crafter back in the day. Keychains, friendship bracelets, something that would leave an everlasting impact on someone's life, because you never know what people are going through. Some people are walking towards a storm. Some people are in a storm. Some people just got out of a storm. And there are some people like you who are the storm. And so being kind and gentle with your words is so important. And when you give somebody something that for you has a lot of meaning, and can pick up a person's spirit and give them hope again. So that's one of the things I try to do, and that's what I'm reminded of every time I go to these amazing places, is always have extra gifts to share in a good way.
That reminds me of my sister Angie. Anytime I would go visit her, or if she even had other people go visit her, she'd always have little gifts for them, and it just makes people feel special and makes people feel valued. And I really like that message. I do that too, but the thing is, like, I don't have very many visitors. So when I do go other places, yeah, I do try to, just give whatever I can. So that's a really nice message and a nice reminder to constantly be giving. Giving is the way. So as you look ahead, what gives you hope for the next generation of Indigenous fathers, uncles, and helpers?
Yeah, well, we're living in a time where now it's being sober is a thing now. And which is really good, because, sobriety, being clean and free from addiction is such a beautiful way to live. When you use those things, I was taught your spirit kind of lingers outside of your body. And so that's why you feel lonely. That's why you feel alone. That's why you feel empty, is because your spirit is waiting for you to stop those behaviors. And so for me, I'm 30 plus years sober. So that's how old I am spiritually. And so I'm able to understand just a little bit of Sispugukiano, about what those old people had shared with me about loving yourself. Well, what does that mean? It means, honoring yourself, treating yourself almost like a lodge. Who do you bring into that lodge? What do you put into your body? What kind of foods do you put into your body? How do you take care of your body? So some of the things I'm reminded of on a daily basis. And so honoring yourself is so important. Taking care of yourself is so important. And so, just reminding that you only have one body, one mind, one heart, and one set of parents. And how do you honor that in the best way you know how? And so living like that every moment, every day is so important in today's world, because, like I said, we become so distracted with technology. And so sometimes we forget to shower, we forget to brush our teeth, we forget to, change baby's pamper. I'm just kidding. But, some of the things that have impacted us because of technology, we need to take a look at.
That's my first time hearing of that, I guess, that teaching, that perspective of when you've walked that red road and you're on that healing journey of sobriety, that is basically your spiritual age. So for me, my spiritual age would be 9. And so it's kind of cool to hear that, because I've never heard that before, and it's quite interesting. It's probably why I act like a kid still. No, I'm kidding. Is there any closing statement that you would like to share before we end our conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm I'm really grateful to be here with you, Chantel. Thank you for allowing me to share this space with you. And anytime you want to bring me back, I have lots of stories. I just recently published a book, my first one, called Little Walking Stick Becomes a Drummer, and it's kind of like my story. So maybe next month or whenever you have time, I could share that with you as well. And so there's going to be like 5 books I'm kind of writing right now. So the first one was Little Walking Stick Becomes a Drummer. The second one, he becomes a dancer. The third one, he becomes a dad. And the fourth one, he becomes an elder. And so it's kind of like his whole life right before our eyes, seeing from his conception to this world to almost his exit. And then the 5th book is about my life. And the 6th book is about, it's called Buffalo Stew for the Spirit. You ever heard of that chicken soup for the soul? Well, my book is about preparing a person who's never been to ceremony. And we know that a lot of our First Nations people have never been to a ceremony. There's so many questions, there's so many fears. And what this book will do is kind of like prepare you, kind of give you a calm sense of relief on why we go to ceremony. And one of the greatest things the late George Kiyuan taught me was when I was filling his pipe, he's asking me, why was I doing that? And I said, because you told me to fill your pipe. And he says, no, why are you doing that? And I had to think about that for a moment. And I thought, because it feels good to help you. And he said, that's why our ceremonies are so important, because for so many years we're taught it's bad. But ceremony is meant to make you feel good, make you feel connected, make you feel rejuvenated. And so those are some of the things to remember when you want to go to a ceremony. So that's what my book will kind of prepare you for, is preparing you for ceremony in a good way. So, hopefully by next year, January, I'll have those 3 books out for...
Oh my gosh, that is so freaking cool. Oh my goodness. Even that little story you shared about sitting with that elder and filling his pipe, like just that little small act of feeling connected, and it makes you feel good. It brings me back to when my son, so this past summer, we went to Alexis powwow, and I was trying to build a fire, and for the life of me, I couldn't get it going. And so my son, he gets there, and not even within 30 minutes, he gets this fire going, and right away, like after he built that fire, and my little nephew helped him do that, but my son was like, oh, that made me feel so good. He's like, I miss doing this. He's like, I miss camping. I miss being outdoors. And I told him, I said, because one, you're living in the city, you're in this concrete jungle, you're being disconnected from the land. And I told him, like, whenever you're ready, like, you can come home, and, we can go to ceremony together. You can, reconnect with the land again, and, maybe start your healing journey. But, he's stubborn, so I just have to be patient with him. But it's just amazing to hear how, just these small little acts of attending ceremony just brings so much joy to our spirits, and how important that is. So I'm doing a series for December where it's going to be about storytelling. And so for sure, I would definitely like to welcome you back to Circle, and we'll talk more about your books and hear some of your stories. I would really, really enjoy that. Thank you, Adrian, for joining us in this beautiful and powerful conversation. Your words remind us that healing is not just about mending, it's about remembering who you are and walking that truth every day with kindness, humility, and love. To all the men listening, we see you, we honor you, and we thank you for showing up for your families, your communities, and most importantly, for yourselves. This November, as we hold space for men's health, may we also remember the sacred fire within. That every breath, every story, every dance is an act of healing. Ekse, hi. Thank you for tuning in to Muskeg Tea with Chantel G. Until next time, keep your spirit grounded, your heart open, and your tea warm.